Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of Small Talk with Shibby, my LCS post-game interview content. I am here with FlyQuest very own support, Vulcan. Vulcan, I want to get right into it. I interviewed Spica a couple weeks ago, I believe, during your week one games, and he mentioned that, you know, regardless if you guys go 0-4, 0-5, 0-6, he feels that you guys have a really big chance of bouncing back and really just, you know, making it to playoffs. Obviously, last week, very, very successful. You went 3-0 that week. Obviously, you had a loss today. But do you kind of share the same sentiment as Spica? Does your team kind of share that same sentiment where regardless of how kind of down you are in losses, it feels that once you guys start winning, once you guys start gaining momentum, that form that is promised will pick back up?
Yeah, I agree with Spica's sentiment there. I think we have a lot more potential than we've shown even in our wins. I think they were very bad, and that we have much better players than what we've shown, like individually and also as a team, how we play together. So I think there's definitely potential there. But either way, yeah, I mean, I feel like today's loss is very disappointing because we did have that momentum, and I wanted it to kind of carry on into tomorrow and the rest of this week's games. So it sucks that we weren't able to pull this one, but I'm still confident in our team that we can be a very strong team. Yeah.
Obviously, you guys are kind of in an uphill battle at the moment. When teams kind of go on these sort of streaky losses or streaky win streaks, right? They kind of pin it to like, hey, we're not making enough progress within as a team, right? Do you believe that you guys are kind of stalled out in terms of progress and in regards to maybe not understanding the patch, or maybe there's a communication breakdown? Maybe as a team, you guys haven't really found your identity just yet. Where do you think some of those problems lie, specifically with FlyQuest?
I wouldn't say we're not progressing. I think we're progressing. It's just that it's like a very weird situation that we have where our scrims tend to go a lot better than what happens on stage, right? And also,
Of course.
obviously, everyone always talks about how different the scrim game, like I guess quality or like aggressivity is different in scrims versus stage, and we play a lot slower games on stage, and it tends to look a lot different than how we do it in scrims. So that's like a big thing. So the progress that we need to do is like try to replicate what we do in scrims more on stage. So that's the one thing that we have to progress at, obviously.
Mhm.
And then in terms of communication, I think we've been doing better. The first week or two was pretty bad in terms of communication, but I think it's not too bad now. Um, for today, I'm not sure. I think we'll have to look at our early game because I think with our comp against theirs, we had to do a lot more in the early game to be able to snowball, and we weren't able to do that. And then we got outscaled and they got Baron, and that was it, right? So
Yeah.
yeah,
I do want to step out a little bit and kind of just talk about, you know, your role within FlyQuest, right? Because when I spoke to Spica, he said that you brought, you know, a voice within the team, a big shot calling presence. I think on every single roster you've been on, whether it's been the EG roster, the C9 roster, you've played a very big vocal point within the team. I wanted to ask you, how do you feel kind of taking on that role for a team? The expectation that like you'll be doing a lot of the shot calling, is that something that you've learn to accept? Is that something that you would like maybe another role or another player to kind of help you with, right? Because I feel like, you know, supports and junglers are usually the ones making a lot of those big objective calls. Is that just something that kind of comes with the territory of your role? Like, how do you kind of feel about being that voice for FlyQuest?
yeah. In my mind, it comes with a job. You know, you're playing support, so you have more time to pay attention to what people are doing on the map, what you should be doing next as a team,
Mm-hmm.
whether or not you want to fight, like where should we be going, stuff like that. And it's not really pressure anymore. I just, I show up to a new team and I try to fit in, do my job, communicate the right things, and I expect my teammates to do the same. I think I like the kind of system where everyone provides like bits of information and then we come together to like the best conclusion. And the best teams, like on when different rosters were performing at the best level, it was always like our team was able to kind of understand each other with like a little bit of information said, and then we've like played so many games, so many scrims, so many stage games that we like have different playbook, right? And we can say like one very simple thing like do this, or split map here, we rush tier 2, something like that. Everyone's like aware of their role within that call, and then you can proceed. So that's like a lot easier than when you have a very fresh team like I've joined, I feel like we don't have that established. Those kind of systems where communication flows very easily. So that's something we definitely need to work on. But yeah, to go back to your point about expectations and me coming in and having to be a big voice, I think I wouldn't say I'm like a shot caller or anything. I just come in, provide relevant information, and then when I see something that I think is very important, I'll say it at different volume depending on the urgency, and go from there.
You've obviously been on a handful of successful rosters within your tenure in the LCS, and when you guys, when you're on a team that kind of is on these loss streaks and win streaks, what strategies have been the most helpful implementing within a team? Right, I think some teams they'll dumb down the compositions. Right, they'll start from square one and work forwards. Right, say, hey, we have these champions in these set roles that we like to play, and we're gonna kind of force it here. Or is it more of like a, hey, we're going to start communicating more, we're going to start, this guy in scrims is going to start talking more, he's going to start feeding more information? What is the strategies that are implemented for you guys to kind of get back on track as a squad? Because it feels like you're there, right? And obviously everybody talks about you as like this very big, scrim monster. It feels like the pieces are there, it just feels like something is not connecting. What strategies have you seen been the most successful when implementing on different rosters, or even the one you're on right now?
I think it's like you said, dumbing down the game a little bit and being like, all right, let's pick not necessarily scaling, but like a very clear win condition where you're like, okay, we can push bot and then try to stack dragons and then have an early soul, try to force team fights that way. Have like a reliable, you don't need to outscale necessarily, but like have a reliable carry that can dish out a lot of DPS in the later game, and trying to not complicate things, because what happens is when you have a lot of players that have a good amount of experience and they're smart in their own ways about the game, then you can have a lot of different ideas within the game, and sometimes you can be a little bit disconnected if you are thinking about like different stuff, or it's like too complicated sometimes, like um so we need to yeah, I guess dumb it down, have it more simple, don't overcomplicate things, like don't try to do anything too flashy right now, because we don't need to do anything flashy to be able to beat Heart of Thieves, right? They're not the strongest team in the league, and we should be expected to beat them. And yeah, we don't need to like pull out anything special or crazy. We just need to play a solid game, have champions we're comfortable on, and go through the early game well. And I think we should be able to win. So I think that's usually how you get out of this slump where you're like low on confidence and you want to build back up that confidence and get momentum. So yeah.
Let's talk about expectations a little bit, because it feels like your team specifically has kind of been under the radar, I would say unfairly. Do you think there's a lot of things that maybe analysts, pundits, even fans kind of miss, right, about like what it takes to become a successful team, especially carrying success over from split to split, right? Because FlyQuest was obviously a very top team. It feels like a lot of teams are, practicing harder or studying you guys a little bit more. Obviously, you were a superstar addition to the roster. They only made one change. What is it that maybe fans, analysts, and maybe other pundits are missing from, judging FlyQuest so harshly, right, because of the start of your season? What is it that some people miss?
I don't know if anyone misses anything, to be fair. I think everyone's expecting this roster to be very good. Like in
Of
spring,
course, of
we're
course.
doing very well. We have very good players in every role.
Maybe
So
something that's maybe not understood, or maybe it's underestimated, that requires maybe a team to be very, very successful in the LCS, because this is a major league like anything else, right? And being a good team is still very, very hard, especially with other teams maybe progressing as well, right? They're getting better, they're changing out pieces, they're boot camping and whatever.
yeah, there's a lot of different factors that can affect like a team's overall strength. Like also meta changes are another one, where in spring FlyQuest was known for like give Zeri to Prince and then he's gonna 1v9, so you give him CS, make sure he's in a good spot. Pico is like, I'm running bot no matter what, I'm gonna gank level 3, whatever, make sure he's in a good spot and then go from there. And now the meta is not so centered around ADC, not as much at least. And so that's like something that we need to adapt to. And I guess FlyQuest was also pretty streaky last split, right? They started off very strong and then they slowed down as the split went on. So um, looks like confidence and like being comfortable in the way that we play the game. I guess it's we now, but they back then.
Yeah.
Um, FlyQuest plays the game. is important to how we perform. So yeah. Yeah, I'm just thinking now how annoying it is that we have to have this extra pressure of playoff seeding now, because we're a lot of losses compared to wins, and we need to start thinking about playoffs pretty quickly, right? Usually teams that I've been on, we don't worry about playoffs at this point of the year. Usually we're, rather than 3-7, we're 7-3, and we're like,
Yeah.
okay, you know, like we don't need to stress out too much. We can try different comps and stuff like that. But now it's we should be in a mode where every win is very important. So that's why it sucks a little bit more that we lost to one of the teams who, they're not bad, right? They're not bottom team, they're not bottom tier, but they're a team that we need to be able to beat.
One final question here. You've obviously, been bot lane partners with some really, really good AD carries in your time. Obviously, Sven, Danny, so on and so forth. What is it about Prince that, maybe is different from other individuals that you've had the pleasure of sharing the bot lane with, right? Is he like more aggressive? Is he very talkative? Like what? Is he just mechanically so gifted? Like you've played with a lot of different AD carries so far. What is it about Prince that maybe some people don't understand or underestimate?
He is very mechanically talented, so most situations he'll play out near flawlessly. And also he is very well versed in different matchups, and he knows how he wants to play lane, but also like mid game. Like overall, he has a very strong feeling on what he wants to do, and that's something that's he's also able to communicate well. So it's very easy to kind of get behind Prince when you're in that situation, and he's like, "You need to do that. You need to do this. Like do that. Oh, I don't have flash. We need to watch for this," and then it's very like clear steps to follow. So it makes it very easy to play with him.
Well, Vulcan, thank you so much for joining me and taking time out of your busy schedule. Any last message to the FlyQuest fans that may be watching?
Yeah. Well, I keep saying sorry every week when I get interviewed. We suck at the moment, but I'm still
No more
hopeful.
sorries. No more sorries. Say we'll do better. We'll
Okay,
just do better.
yeah, we'll do better. I'm still hopeful, and you know we're gonna try to ramp up for playoffs, and in the end, that's the only thing that matters. So we'll see you guys in playoffs.